from our studios in the heart of Silicon Valley, Palo Alto, California. This is a CUBE Conversation.
Hi, I'm Peter Burris and welcome to another CUBE Conversation from our beautiful studios in wonderful Palo Alto, California. Enterprises have always struggled with how they're going to add more endpoints into their networks. More users, more devices, more machines. They need better speeds, lower latencies, greater security. How are they going to do it? Well, we've got a new set of standards coming along within the Wi-Fi world as well as within the cellular world to provide those greater densities, lower latencies, higher performance. Wi-Fi 6 is what we talk about within kind of the extension of the 802.11 family of protocols. But Wi-Fi 6, like every other significant transformation, has required that enterprises think differently about certain attributes of networking. So to have that conversation, we've got Sachin Gupta, who's the Senior Vice President of Cisco here. Sachin, welcome to theCUBE.
Thanks, Peter. Very excited to be here.
All right, so look, I'm a CIO, and I am working with my team to incorporate these new technologies that are going to improve the quality of my endpoint services, and I'm looking at Wi-Fi 6.
Right.
What am I mainly worried about as I think about adopting these new technologies?
So just before we just get into adopting of the new technologies, like why are you going after Wi-Fi 6? Like what's the reason for the CIO? And quite simply, it's all of the new use cases that are coming on, like everything, all the IoT endpoints that I have to connect securely, all the bandwidth hungry end users and the immersive experiences I'm looking to enable. Could be augmented reality, could be virtual reality. All of those are driving a need for me to rethink access and rethink the network overall. And Wi-Fi 6 is one critical component of that. Wi-Fi 6 promises 4 times the capacity. Lower latency, greater range, some of the things you talked about in your setup. So it's a wonderful technology to start addressing some of those problems. But in of its own, it's not sufficient. You got to go well beyond the standard in order to address the CIO problem.
Okay, so, but specifically as I think about some of the adoption elements, I got the use cases nailed down. How am I thinking about where things are going to go? Am I going to have to lay out the network differently, and what kinds of practical things do I have to start thinking about?
Well, first of all, you have to think about why are you moving, where are you moving with Wi-Fi 6? So again, capacity, lower latency, better battery life, the new use cases enabled. After that, you need to make sure that whatever you're going to connect will interoperate, right? So look, sometimes the standard comes out and it can take a few years before the endpoints and the infrastructure actually get the maximum capability from the new standard. And so we worked proactively with the likes of Samsung, with the likes of Intel to make sure that those endpoints, which, and Samsung, the new Galaxy X10 already supports Wi-Fi 6, and our access points work together to give you the best experience possible. So that's sort of step one. But there's many other things you need to think through. Like we're also thinking about the problem of just onboarding onto Wi-Fi. You know the experience to onboard on cellular, right? Like
oh, sure.
You get off airplane mode.
And it works.
It just works, you're on. What's the experience like on Wi-Fi?
Well, it's certainly not just getting a message from my local carrier that I'm now roaming. It's you got to get on.
More involved.
Yeah, it's a lot more involved.
Give me all
you got
this
to
personal
authenticate.
information.
Exactly.
Give me your phone number. Give me your room number. I'll text you something. Get onto the. It's cumbersome. Okay, and we want to make Wi-Fi onboarding through something we call open roaming. Open roaming is a Cisco project. It's a consortium we've set up that takes all the venue providers and the identity providers, brings them together, so that when you go around and you roam with Wi-Fi, you onboard the network just like you onboard with cellular.
Oh, so you get essentially the same experience you get in the cellular world.
Same experience. Let's make it easy for you to get connected. So those are some of the basic things, but you got to go beyond that then. And now you have to worry about, okay, what do those endpoints require? All right. Well, first of all, I need to recognize what the endpoint is. Right? Is this a light bulb, or is it a, heart rate monitor? Is it a tablet of some sort? What is actually connecting? So for device recognition and to understand the experience you're getting, I need richer analytics. And that's something the infrastructure now needs to provide. So for the first time now, we've embedded our own ASIC, our own silicon inside the access point so that we can get visibility from layer 1 to 7. And now we can pinpoint what is the device, is it behaving in a compliant way, and how do I deliver the right experience for it? So these are some of the things to think about as you move. Yes, I want Wi-Fi 6, but again, tying it back to the problem you're looking to solve, how does the entire solution address your problem?
All right, so we've identified some of the issues that have to be addressed here. And Wi-Fi 6 is here, as you said, the Galaxy X10 already supports
shipping. Our
it.
access points are shipping, yes.
So talk to me about the rollout of some of these new technologies, these new devices from Cisco, and how customers are going to have to think a little bit differently as they start to plan out their new network structure.
That's a great question. So I think it's not about, hey, I'm just going to roll out new APs. You should really think about rethinking networking. Like, what am I trying to provide here? And that's why we came out with an architectural approach across the board, which is intent-based networking. And what we're really talking about there is, how do you automate all of the things that IT needs to do to deliver the security and experience for all of those users and things? How do you get the data, the power of data, then the analytics out? And how do you deliver security and policy?
But it's in the context of the application and the work that's being performed.
Right, it's the users and devices and the applications and data. What are you trying to achieve? That's what intent-based networking is all about. And so, I love the sort of how you're asking the question, because when you think about the wireless APs, we already talked about the interoperability with the endpoint, right? But then now you think about the switching architecture. Are you segmenting all of that traffic? Is it fully automated? Do you have an identity and policy engine? Can I take the location data that's coming out? Because remember, these APs now are multilingual. They speak BLE, they speak Zigbee and Thread, they're also Wi-Fi 6. So how do I take the location data and deliver new business outcomes? How can I tell you that the wheelchair has left the premises? How can I tell you how many people walked in your store versus walked outside it? How do I get you better asset utilization? Those outcomes are provided at the software stack at the top. So you should really be thinking about, what am I trying to do for my business, and what architectural approach allows me to deliver those outcomes that I'm looking for? And yes, Wi-Fi 6 APs are one critical component there. You should think about the entire solution, though.
So we got new access points that are Wi-Fi 6 enabled and ready to go.
Yeah.
How far back does this change go into the network?
So the Wi-Fi 6 APs, the beauty of these Wi-Fi standards is they're backward compatible. So you can take all kinds of older endpoints, multiple generations, and get them to work in a Wi-Fi 6 new environment. So that's nice, because it's not a rip and replace of all your clients. When you put the new APs in, they're backward compatible. That's always the case. And a lot of the new software stack and the technology that I talked about with intent-based networking works with at least the 2 previous generations as well. So if you want some of the telemetry and analytics and security, you can start getting that with some of the APs you may already have. And then when you bring in Wi-Fi 6, it's sort of purpose-built for that architecture.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the use cases of the business side. Let's spend a little bit of time describing the fact that you've got this sidecar co-processor for analytics inside the APs.
Yeah.
How is that going to change the work of IT, the work of network management, administration, and security?
Yeah, this is that's a great one. So I'll give you sort of one example of what that does. Today, if you want to go troubleshoot a wireless issue, you're literally walking around with a sensor, right, acting like a client to go figure out what the behavior is, what's going on. How do I figure out what the interference is? Why is the experience bad, right? It can take you hours, weeks, days. Like, it's very costly. These new APs, and with our solution with Wi-Fi 6, first of all, I get data with my relationship with Apple from the endpoint. So I get the view from a real client. Then on the access point itself with that co-processor, I can get layer 1 to 7 data and packet captures to see, did you fail during authentication? Was there some sort of RF issue that's happening? What exactly is happening that's interfering with what's going on? Or maybe the problem's not even there, it's in somewhere else in the network. And the beauty of our Cisco DNA Center solution, which is our controller in intent-based networking, is we see end-to-end. We see the entire network, and we can help you pinpoint where that issue is and save a whole bunch of money in order to spend troubleshooting to deliver the right experience.
But it sounds as though historically, some of the analytics associated with network administration was very focused on the device.
Yes.
Intent-based network is intended to focus on the application of the service that's being provided, but the analytics didn't follow. So now what you're saying is, we're going to follow the analytics so that the applications, the services, become primary citizens within the network.
That's exactly right. So you have to be able to look at the client holistic view, the application performance holistic view, and the performance of each network element. And that's what the co-processor that we talked about helps. Now, another thing we did is that portfolio now, right, on the enterprise side, we now run the same operating system that also helps simplify for IT. Like, entire access network with the Catalyst 9000 series, the new access points are called the Catalyst 9100. And we're making it part of one brand, one family, because it's one OS, one programmable architecture, one operational environment, if you will, that simplifies the job of IT significantly as well. And then we're also introducing, obviously with Wi-Fi 6, our cloud-managed Meraki access points to support those deployments as well.
All right, so I have one more question on this, and I want to talk about something else in a second, but the beauty or the essential feature of networking has to be a degree of openness.
Yes.
So new access points can talk to each other, new devices can talk to each other, et cetera. These are new technologies, as you said, they're going to roll out and diffuse hopefully very, very rapidly, but there will be some both enterprise, but also some other network supplier issues.
Yes.
How is Cisco ensuring that your leadership and your thought leadership, but also your engineering leadership gets into those other organizations at an appropriate rate so this entire industry can adopt and change and introduce these new kinds of capabilities?
So, I talked a little bit about that new family, the Catalyst 9000 series. Let me start there. So all the protocols we support are open, interoperable, so you can have my switch, somebody else's AP, somebody else's AP, my switch, all those combinations would work. It supports netconf yang, open APIs, programmable models. We expose those through Cisco DevNet. So we have the largest developer community on top of sort of a networking infrastructure where you can write applications that can automate or can get data out of this infrastructure.
Or services.
Or deploy services in a very open way. And then we do the same thing at our controller layer on Cisco DNA Center, fully open so that you can have partners, ecosystem, delivering services and applications on top of the network, on top of that controller. So we think about openness from every angle, and that's how you have to be in a networking world, right? I mean, you need to be able to connect to anything.
Right.
That's sort of inherent.
Every significant change in networking, somebody always presumed that it was going to lead to nefarious behavior by the leader to try to somehow close it down. And you're saying that's not what's happening here. We're trying to dramatically extend the benefits and capabilities of networking because those enterprises need new use cases.
But we are saying, though, that if you buy that campus architecture, access architecture through Cisco, you're going to get a degree of consistency and automation, analytics and security that's unmatched. So you might as well go, but if you want to compose that with different components, that's absolutely doable.
All right, so one last question. The historical norm has been, I get a cell service, and I get Wi-Fi, and cell had certain positive benefits, and Wi-Fi had other positive benefits.
Yeah.
We're talking about Wi-Fi 6, but also we got to talk about 5G.
Right.
How are the two of them going to work together in your estimation?
Look, from a wireless standpoint, the problems that you're trying to solve are the same, right? I need more capacity, I need lower latency, more deterministic, better battery life. They're the same. And so you need to solve those when you're in an SP outdoor ubiquitous environment, or whether you're sort of indoor where you have predominantly Wi-Fi and that's where most of your traffic flows. And so Wi-Fi 6 and 5G, it's a beautiful thing that they're both trying to allow you to be in this wireless first, cloud-driven world where most of your apps and data sit in the cloud, and where your experience is really optimized by the data and telemetry that's coming out of the infrastructure. So for me, it's not an or question, right? It's Wi-Fi 6 and 5G that allow you to start solving that problem.
So it's everything, just as we have it today, just more, better, faster, lower power.
Yes. Can I add one more thing?
Of course.
I just kind of need to do this, okay? So look, when you think about the wireless infrastructure and changing that out, I talked about how it affects the rest of the network, right? So you do need to think about upgrading your switching infrastructure. We call it being wired for wireless, okay?
Okay.
All right, so you got to think about the switching infrastructure. So with that, we also introduced a new product called the Catalyst 9600. That's a modular core switch. Now you're like, why are you bringing this up, Sachin? The reason I'm bringing it up, first of all,
I know why you're bringing it up.
Look, it is, after 20 years, we are providing the next generation of the Cat 6K. Cat 6K is iconic. It's the foundation of tens of thousands of mission critical networks in the world. This is the next gen. It's more than 10x the capacity. If you have all these endpoints and access points that have more capacity, you need to think about a switch that's bigger,
Scales.
faster, right? But fits into intent-based networking, fully programmable the same way. So I just want to do a shout out for, look, we've talked about every aspect of this. AP, switches, identity, everything. Okay?
We're offering,
9600.
Cisco's offering, and the enterprise is going to adopt new classes of network technology at the endpoints, faster, better, but that's going to lead to new use cases, new services, and it's just going to drive that much more complexity and routing and switching and pathing through the network. And you got to be able to scale that core
you have to
as
think
well.
about all the components.
Absolutely. Sachin Gupta is the Senior Vice President of Cisco. We've been talking about how to think through Wi-Fi 6 upgrades. Thank you very much for being on theCUBE.
Thank you, Peter.
And once again, I'm Peter Burris, and this has been a CUBE Conversation. Until next time.